have something to chime in. I
Yeah.
work as day job as a commercial SBA loan broker. That's my full-time job. So regarding the, um, the desire to prevent potential buyers to lock up the sellers for too long, I'm thinking that. The agent could do some screening to pre-qualify type of these potential buyers. Um, I think that to certain agent that may become a kind of advantage for these to protect the seller, preventing that those random offers. And this is by working with a lender or a loan broker just to screen out many of those potential buyers. Is that a legitimate value proposition for sellers?
Well, I think that in general we do that. We have certain lenders that we work with that have, or at least I do, that have already seen the business financials. And so when I have an interested buyer, I ask them if they have their lender that they're working with, or if they'd like an introduction to the one that I work with that's already seen the business financials and is already familiar with the business. Most of the time they want an introduction. And so, that will get, um, that'll get the buyer pre-qualified to some extent, which is helpful. And the other thing is, I remember one deal a few months ago where the buyers they had that structure, right? They had an LOI. They were going to put in like 2%. They wanted the seller to carry 8. And they said their lender would do it. And it's like, okay, well, we'll present this to the seller, but the seller wants to see your proof of ability to close. So you need to provide some bank statements or something that shows that you have funds sufficient to close this transaction. And this was something it was like $3.5 million, so it wasn't chump change. And they wouldn't, they kept arguing about whether or not they should have to provide any financials. It's like, well, you've already seen the seller's financials. You've seen, you're trying to lock up his business for the next 4 months. And all he wants to do before agreeing to lock up to allow you to lock up his business is he wants to know you've got the wherewithal and the ability to close this thing. And if you don't, then he's not going to sign your LOI, And they scheduled a phone call with an attorney and had me on with their attorney, and the attorney was, well, that's just an unusual request. Like, it's not an unusual request. What's wrong with you people? And so finally we just turned it over to another attorney, the seller. We referred the seller to another attorney to respond back to their LOI, because it was like, the buyers were getting very aggressive and started threatening us as the brokers. And it was like, you know what, let's just have the attorney respond. So the attorney wrote a counter offer back to their LOI, and same thing, insisted that before any signatures would take place, they absolutely had to show proof of funds, proof of ability to close. And buyers went away. Gee, what a surprise.
What could they have been threatening, since you're perfectly reasonable to ask anything you want, just as they could ask for anything they want, right?
Well, they were threatening because the agent was one of my mentees, and basically, because in business brokerage, business sales are confidential. So you advertise the business in a confidential way. The buyer's inquiries come to you. So typically, you are a dual agent on a transaction, or you represent only the seller, in which case, you know, the buyer is self-represented. Well,
Mhm.
what they were saying is that and so even when in California, even when you are representing the seller only, you still have a duty of honesty and fair dealing with the buyer. And
Mhm.
so they were saying that the agent was not dealing with them fairly because he was inserting obstacles um,
Mhm.
and not helping them to get the seller to sign off on this LOI. It was, I mean, anybody can sue anybody for anything, and in
Right.
California,
Yeah.
so it's just, you know, but they ended up going away. It's just wasted a ton of time, you know, wasted a lot of time, a lot of money, and so what it is, guys, is that there's these people out there selling courses on how to buy a business with $0 down.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask if you're just seeing a lot of those people who are watching these YouTubers that are saying anybody can buy a business
yeah,
with $0 down.
that's it. That's it. And so they're making our lives complicated and creating a lot more work for us, but hey, it's part of the job, right?
Hey,
So
Tawnya.
we have to then educate both the sellers and the buyers and let the buyers know, yeah, I know, I hear you're listening to this stuff, but guess what? That's not how it actually works.
Have